You know what? Setbacks and failures sure don't feel fabulous when they happen. But what if your biggest stumbles actually turned out to be your greatest steps forward? Well, we've got a panel of experts coming on in just a moment to share their insights on falling forward. So let's talk. Oh, hello, and welcome to the Fab Show. I am Gloria Grace Rand, and I'm one of the Fab Five hosts of this show. And I really am so excited to talk about falling forward. And I want to introduce our fabulous guests here. And have them share a little bit about where they're coming in from. So over on my left, right, yes, Christine. We'll start with you.
Okay, hi, I'm Christine Catoggio, and I am in Boca Raton, Florida.
All right. And next to you, we got Amanda.
I'm Amanda Johnson, coming to you live from Southeast Iowa.
All right, cool. And let's see, below we've got Deb. How about you go?
Hello, everyone. I am Deb Krier, and I am in hot Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, it's not hot.
Okay. And then we've got Tara.
Hi, I am Tara Geraghty, and I'm here in New Jersey.
All right. Well, and I am in Melbourne, Florida, so I'm just up the road a couple hours from Christine. So we've got the country covered pretty well here today. I love it, and I am looking forward to. Well, first off, though, I do want to welcome our lovely digital audience here today. And if you want to let us know in the comments where you're coming from too, that would be great. And also make sure that you hashtag live or hashtag replay, so that we know, when you're watching this. It would be cool. And I think without further ado, what I'm going to do is we're going to start off with one of our guest panelists' videos that she did, so we can start talking about this subject today.
Falling forward. What does that mean? That means being brave, being courageous, and looking at things that you may otherwise look at as being a failure, as being an opportunity to align your energy, take it as divine intervention that you're not on the right path. You need to path correct. You need to do the right thing. Stick with it. Walking is a matter of falling. As you pick up your one foot and you're falling forward, it's just a natural course of events. So look at everything as being a learning opportunity, a building block. As long as you learn from it, it gives you that opportunity to reset and set the path that you want with your divine course. So be courageous, pick up and keep going. Failure's not fatal. It's only fatal when you don't try again.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you into the spotlight, Amanda. And I especially loved when you were talking about, that walking is even like falling forward. So I thought that was a really cool way to put it. So tell us a little bit more about what you were talking about there today.
Oh, goodness. That when something's not going the way you want it to go, that you look at it as maybe it's an opportunity. They talk about when you're running late and you can't find your keys, you can't do this, and you leave the house instead of being really upset about, gosh, I'm not on time. And then you learn that there was an accident or something. So possibly it's just divine timing. You're not supposed to be there right then. And so I think a lot of times that we burn up a lot of energy trying to make things perfect, to make them where they are, instead of enjoying where you're at. Look at where you're at. Make sure you're enjoying the journey. It's not a beeline of getting there. It's not a race. yes, there's a lot of things that have to be done timely. But on the other hand, if it's not happening, forcing it to happen is not the thing to do. And there's been a lot of times in my life where it's like, oh man, how can this be happening? And it's like, why is this happening? What is happening for me? And the things that I have found have been what I initially looked at as being the biggest hurdles, the biggest in my life have actually turned out to be times when I could sit back and say, all right, what does this mean? How can I make lemonade out of this?
Mm.
You know? And so just looking at it that way, I think is really, really important, because there is so much gloom and gloom out there. We do not need to contribute to it. And being able to just sit back and look and what's going on, and what can you contribute? What can you learn? It's not everything is what it appears to be on the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to comment, either on what Amanda was saying in the video itself, or what she was just talking about here?
Oh, I'd like to say there's always a lesson. And I'm a firm believer in that, exactly what Amanda said. When you just take a pause and just stop and say, okay, there's a lesson here. What am I not seeing? And you become a little bit more proactive instead of reactive. And so, take the steps necessary to move forward with whatever it might be. But also, I'm a believer in allowing the pause. When these things happen, I always like to say, take the pause. Sometimes we just need to take a step back and walk away from whatever the situation might be so that we can see it more clearly. The more distance we give ourselves, it could mean walking the dog or just, taking a walk outside, but just getting yourself away from whatever the circumstance is. And I'm mostly referring to business type of things, I think. It's like, why did I just lose the program that I just set up for the last 4 hours? Those type of things. But we need to just take a step back, walk away, allow the pause, and just get a kind of breathe in and enjoy it.
Yeah, that's a little writer downer, as we like to say. Absolutely. Anybody else? Deb, you
Well,
look like you were going to say something.
yeah, I was like, if we're not going forward, even if it's falling, that means we're either staying the same or worse, going backward.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, you know what? I'm gonna go do another video right now, and this is actually, whoops, wait if I can get it. There we go.
Remember that saying, 1 step forward, 2 steps back? Just when you think you're doing well and you're making progress, then something happens. It could be life experiences, it could be job experiences, but it's something that takes us away from where we're headed and what it is that we're looking to accomplish. We've all been through those moments. We get stuck, we're frozen. We're trying to figure out what are our next right steps. These moments don't define us, but your next move does. So we need to step back, listen to our inner voices that are telling us what we need to do for ourselves. It could be getting out in the sunshine. It could be taking a walk. It's simple as that. It could be removing yourself from the circumstances, but we need to listen to what that is for us so we can get clear on what those next right steps are so that we can get back on track and get closer to the light. And using these challenges as opportunities for growth and progress rather than allowing them to hold us back. Surviving these challenges helps us become more adaptable, more resilient, and more purpose-driven. Resilience isn't about avoiding the fall. It's about rising every time.
So, Christine, you know what? I'm couple things that you had talked about in that video, and I wondered if you could maybe, because I think we sort of alluded to it a little bit, but I think especially about paying attention to that inner voice. Maybe you could expand on that a little bit.
I think, especially when something happens, when we do get some glitches in the road, we have a tendency to try and take control. And instead of actually taking the time and taking that pause to actually listen. We don't often listen. So much of what we do is we control and we try to take charge of, instead of really just being insightful and just allowing the divine intervention. I think Amanda had said that it really is divine intervention. Just, when we calm down and we can step back from things and just listen. Just listen. The answers always come when we're quiet and we listen, but instead of trying to control everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else want to chime in there? How about you, Tara?
Sure. So actually I loved what you said. First of all, let me just say that was a great video.
Thank you.
And I recently had this conversation about control, and it was that control is a spiritual problem more than anything else. And this was a different mindset for me, because I am somebody who likes to, how can I grab onto control? Right. And but it's a mindset. If we're going through life literally believing that the universe is conspiring for only good things to happen to you, that God is opening doors and closing doors that aren't going to serve you, that are going to lead you away from your purpose or from the blessings that are waiting for you, then when those things happen, when when Amanda was saying, when we fall or something doesn't happen the way we want, or like Christina's saying, when, we got to get thrown off, we go, wow, thank you. Thank you for re-steering me. Thank you for pivoting me in the right direction. But we only try to grab control when our mindset is that good things aren't happening to me. Why is this happening? But if we're coming from a place of spiritual, hey, the universe literally has my back all day long and and knows more than me and is looking out for me, then we don't need that control. We just trust that everything happening to me is happening for my good. Everything happening to me, whether I think about it, being late in traffic, it's a blessing. There's a reason. And I wish I could say I'm like that all the time. I'm not, right? Like, this is something I think we all work at. But imagine how different life is if we come with that mindset, right?
Yeah, I love that.
I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in here on this? All right.
I think the biggest part there is, the biggest takeaway for me is just remembering to not be reactive. You have to take that pause and think about it, because it's so easy to be reactive. And I know I historically have been very reactive, and it's not gotten me very far. But being able to go, and just stop, stop in the moment and really think about it. And then deciding how much more you need to think about it before you take action rather than reacting.
Yeah. I think it is so important to just be able to, take a stop and just breathe, because that really does give your brain the frontal cortex or whatever it is, as opposed to the amygdala, which is that, fight or flight response, but if it gives yourself a chance to start breathe and say, okay, how do I want to respond? Because I know I've had things happen too, where it's like I thought in the moment, it was like, well, this really stinks. I was going to do a workshop and I had to cancel it like 3 times, but I finally did have it. And I knew that each time it was good that I didn't do it when I did it. So it all worked out in the end, but it's sometimes having patience, I think, can be challenging.
That's a big one.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go come back to Tara, but I'm going to actually show Tara's video right now.
All right, let's talk resilience. I think it is the single most important quality a human can have. When I think about my daughter and the fact that I'm not going to be here her whole life, and at some point she's going to have to take care of herself, I think to myself, what's the most important quality or skill that I want her to possess. And I keep coming back to resilience. More than work ethic, more than confidence, more than those other thoughts. Why is that? Because resilience is the ability to pick yourself back up when you fall. It's that when life knocks you over, which, let's be real, it will, you're able to pick yourself back up. And I think there's one other step that goes even beyond that. It's not just can you pick yourself back up, because the word resilience itself actually means bounce back, the ability to spring forward, to bounce back from whatever knocked you down. But can you bounce back better? Can you take what you learned when you were in the ditch, when you failed, when you were on your face, when you fell down in that pain? Can you learn from it so that when you bounce back better, you bounce back stronger? And here's the thing, if you knew that no matter what, nobody, nothing, nowhere could knock you down and keep you down, wouldn't you be more likely to go for those big dreams, to take those big risks, to say yes to those opportunities? Of course you would. So that's what we're going to talk about. How do you become the most resilient person you know? You will become unstoppable.
So Tara, let's, we've kind of talked about a little bit about how to, be more resilient, but can you share like something more specific for our audience? Yeah.
So here's the thing. We want to be resilient, right? Like we want to be able to bounce back. We want to be able to bounce back better. But the sad part is we don't want to do what it's going to take to become resilient. And here's why. I'm a resiliency expert. And I claim this, but I don't like how I got that title. I got that title from going through domestic violence. That was horrifying and terrifying. I got that through my daughter going through stage 4 cancer and almost dying in a hospital. I got that from having to pick up and move across the country and start over again. Like, I wish I didn't have to do those things. But the way, if you think of a bodybuilder and they have these beautiful, huge muscles, right? The way you get a muscle is you exercise it to the point that it tears. The little fibers tear, they get pain, they get hurt, you damage them, and it allows them to grow back stronger. If you work out and you don't cause those tears, you actually don't get any bigger muscles. And so I think of resiliency like a muscle. The only way we develop this muscle is by going through a little bit of pain, by getting a little hurt. And this is where I think we're not serving our children and this new generation, because we want to protect them from pain. We want to protect them from getting hurt. And now they're becoming adults who can't cope, who can't deal with life, right? Like, pain is necessary to become powerful. That is how you get powerful. And so if we avoid pain at all costs, if we avoid taking risks, if we avoid stepping out of our comfort zone and going back to what Amanda said, if we avoid falling, we are never going to get strong. We will be weak, weak, weak.
Yep.
We like to have fun on this show, okay? Because even though we're talking about serious stuff, and just that point that you just made, Tara, that we do have to, it is really the only way that we're going to build resilience is to go through stuff like that.
And not be afraid of that. See that as a gift. See that as like, I think Christine was saying, like, what am I learning in here? How is this going to make me stronger? How am I going to come back better than when I fell?
Yep.
And I tell you what, this is a perfect segue, because I'm going to go to Deb's video right now, because we're going to dive into this a little bit more about how she's been doing this.
Wow. Well, I think that resilience has become my middle name. Back in 2015, I was diagnosed with what eventually would be called stage 4 triple positive metastatic breast cancer. And that was a blow unto itself. But I have also been diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma. That sounds scary, but it's pretty basically just a easy to treat skin cancer. I also was diagnosed almost 2 years ago with thyroid cancer. So 3 different types of cancer. Along the way, I've suffered multiple critical complications. I've now had about 35 surgical procedures. And I just keep going. And I think that's what we all have to remember, is just keep going.
I've known you for a while, and it just amazes me, how you do just keep going. So talk about that a little bit more. I mean, talk about, not more than
I'm,
even a triple whammy. It seems like
I,
you
you
just
know,
keep getting,
I'm
the
a
hits keep on
tough I'm
coming.
a tough old bird, right? It really it has been quite the journey. I will hit the 10-year mark with the initial diagnosis later on this year.
Wow.
And I've actually known Tara for long enough that was when her daughter was going through cancer. And I really do remember thinking, as I was on my journey, if Tara and her daughter could do it, well, I could certainly do it. I can't imagine having a child going through that. And I mean, it just, but we all find that strength. And especially as women, we find that strength to carry on and do what we need to do. And I think one of the biggest things that truly helped me through this entire journey and continues to help me through the journey is what I call my tribe. I'm a cancer warrior. You call me a patient and I'm going to make a face at you. But we are warriors, and we are warriors in the fight for our life. But it's our tribe that we bring around us and that we call on when we need that strength. That's what helps us get through it. And I'll be honest, almost all of them are women. Thank God for my husband. I couldn't have made it through without him. But, the women are who banded together and helped me through all of this. And it's about being there for each other. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is we have got to support each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Who else wants to comment about that?
Oh, first of all, you're so inspiring, Deb. Really, it's amazing, and I congratulations for surviving what you survived, but for being strong enough to get yourself through it. So, it's very inspiring, and I totally agree with the support. As a matter of fact, and Gloria knows me back when, but when I was going through a very difficult divorce that really took me out of the game, I started trying to figure out what I needed to do for myself. And I realized I needed the support of other women around me. And so I actually started a women's group helping other women who were going through something in their life, because as we've all said, we all have something that's happened to us. And it really was so empowering, because some of the stories that came out of that were just amazing that women have gotten through some of the worst experiences of their life, and they're here to talk about it. So, and I say it is mostly women, and sometimes I think a lot of men probably won't get through whatever they need to get through without us. So,
oh yeah, preach, sister.
But in all honesty, I think that's really what it's all about, because if we've been through something, we can really help others see that there is light at the end of the tunnel,
right?
That they can get through it too. And I think that's part of why we have the experiences we have, is so that we can show others that there is hope. I always like to think of it as a tunnel. When we're going through these transitions in life, these major life transitions, we're kind of like stuck in the middle of a tunnel, and we know there's light at the end, but we don't know what it's going to take to get there. So for most of us women, we just take the next step until we can get to the light.
We fall forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think too, something that's important to acknowledge is, as we are growing and changing and reaching out and creating the community and the supports that we need, sometimes your communities and your supports do change. Sometimes your circle needs to change in order to continue to support you.
Right.
So as you grow, as you are rebounding and you're bouncing back stronger and better, you're going to need a stronger and bigger circle to help support you too. So don't be afraid to let your circle grow and find the people who are truly supportive of you in all the ways you need that.
Right. I was surprised when I was going through it, and I still am. I actually am in active treatment. I go in every 21 days. And people who I thought would be my biggest supporters dropped off the face of the earth. And people who I didn't even think knew I existed were some of my biggest supporters. And it has definitely changed through the years. It's exactly as you were saying. We draw in what we need as we need.
Yeah.
That's perfect, because I was going to ask, like, what's been like some of your, all of yours experiences of what was like the most surprising thing, and hopefully positive thing that has come about. Tara or Christine, you guys want to chime in
One
here?
of the things that I've learned actually when I was going through my divorce is I didn't share, because it was a backstory that I didn't want the world to know. And Gloria actually knew me for years and didn't find out until I wrote about it. But what I found after that was that we really need to tell our story, even if it is somewhat shameful to us, so other people understand who we are and what it is we're going through, and they can be that support system. But if we don't share that with them and we try and hide it, we make it harder on ourselves, and we can't actually allow people to help us.
Yeah, that's
Well,
so
when
true.
we share, then people know they can share and ask for help.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would say with the help thing, one thing, when my daughter got cancer and all of that, everybody said, what can I do for you? How can I help you? How can I reach out to you? And I will say this, I think it's very important you build your community before you need it. I could go on a soapbox about that, but women are meant biologically to live in community. There's a study recently that women over 35 are lonelier than they've ever been, which is so crazy because we have all these ways to connect, but we're very socially connected through social media, but we're alone. And so really invest, make the time and the effort to build your community. But when people say, can I help you? I think as women, we are so conditioned to be strong that we say, oh, I don't need anything. Oh, I don't need anything. I'm okay. I got it. I'm good. I got it. Right. And I just want to challenge that, because I want you to think about when you help somebody and you do something for them, how do you feel? You feel so good. Yeah. You feel so good that I could bring Deb a meal in the hospital, or I could, drive Christine to an appointment that she needed to go to, or babysit for Amanda, or whatever. We feel good when we help people. Yeah. And so when people say, how can I help you? And we say, I don't need anything. We're literally taking away the opportunity from those people to experience that good feeling, to experience the way we feel when we help each other. So saying, yes, I need help doesn't make us weak. It actually just allows somebody else to experience the joy of being able to give, instead of saying, I don't need anything. And so that when I had it approached that way, it made it easier for me to be able to say, actually, you know what I need? I remember we were in the hospital and a friend of mine, she said, what do you need? I said, honestly, I need tweezers and socks. And if you saw my face, you would understand why I need tweezers. And she was happy. She was happy to be able to bring those, but that was a big step for me to even be able to say, hey, I actually could use something, I could use some help.
Well, and that's where I tell people you have got to be specific. So don't just say, hey, can I help? Because our brains are so frazzled, we can't think of what they can do. So if you can say, hey, do you need me to bring you something in the hospital? What do you need? Do you need me to go grocery shopping? I mean, we had people who said, do your dogs need to go get their shots? And by darn, they did. But we also have to be specific. It's exactly as Tara was saying. Don't be strong. Asking for help is one of the strongest things you can do. Yep. So you can, say to people, I need people to do X. I needed people to come and take me once I got out of the hospital. I was in the hospital for over 7 weeks. So I needed fresh air and walking, right? But I couldn't go by myself because I'd go thud. And so I needed to, and my husband had gone back to work. I told people, I need people to come take me for walks. Leash provided.
I love that. And I think, go ahead.
I just think it's so important that we learn how to ask. And when someone makes that offer, what can I do for you? Look around. There is something they can do for you. They can drop a piece of mail off at the post office for you. Yeah, it would be picked up on the porch, but you're allowing them, you're building that circle. You're, allowing them, and you are also learning how to accept that help and to delegate things, because yes, we are all raised that we need to take care of it, not raise as much as socialize. You got to take care of everything on your own. And that's not how we build community. That's not how we build friendships. And that certainly is not how we build support, because if you never let anyone in to help you, even doing the little things, when it comes time for the big things, they won't even offer because you've said no so many times before.
Yeah. And I'm gonna show a video right now about a wonderful organization that is connected to the show that really demonstrates just exactly what we've been talking about right now.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
Share this with your friends and family and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Yeah, because that's as all you have all been talking about today. I think it's just so great that we really do need to rely on community. And I did love the point that you made earlier too, Amanda, about not being afraid to change communities, because you may outgrow people and it's okay to get support from other folks. So it's so important. I love it. I would love to know from any of you who want to chime in here, if you could go back and maybe whisper advice to yourself during, one of your darkest moments, what would you actually say? Who wants to go?
So go ahead. No, Deb, you go.
It will be okay. I mean, I think that was probably one of the hardest things was to know was no matter what, it will be okay.
Okay, so Deb and I read each other's brain apparently, because literally that was the exact words that I'm going to say. And, I think I get a lot of people talk about my daughter's cancer because obviously most children, don't have stage 4 cancer. But I will tell you the really darkest season for me, more than her cancer, was that I was going through domestic violence divorce at the same time. And, when somebody is actively telling people how they're going to kill you and you're living your life in fear, that was actually a harder thing for me to go through, which sounds kind of bizarre, right? But here you are, you're trying to be strong for this child where you're like, afraid to go out of your house. And at the time I didn't know if I was going to be okay. And I think kind of whispering to myself and saying like, not only are you going to be okay, but just the universe does have your back. Like you'll make this through. I've had people say to me over and over again, oh my gosh, you're so strong. You're so strong. And I think, well, not really. Number one, not really. I have very strong faith. I think that's part of it. But I actually think everybody is really strong. And this, Christine, you touched on this, and I thought this was powerful to go back to. I think we try to look like we have it together. Yeah. And we don't want people to think we're weak. And one of the biggest blessings that I got from that season in my life was that literally the rug was just ripped out of me, like ripped underneath me. I was on the floor and it was freeing. I no longer had to look like I had it together. Everybody knew that my life was a circus and a shit show and, everything else. And that was very freeing. And I'm very open and transparent about it. And I agree with what Christine said, that when you're open and you're transparent and you're willing to be vulnerable, then people feel less alone. They feel like they're less the ones going through it. I wrote the first quote in the book that I have, that I wrote, is from Brendan Burchard. And he says, when you've gone through a fire and you've survived, you need to go back and throw water on people who are still in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of what we're all talking about, is that you have lessons in life. You go through hard things. If you just want to push them behind you, and pretend they don't exist, you can't help the people who are still in that fire, and even just to be able to say, it'll be okay. I went there. I did this. I got through this. It'll be okay. Yeah. And that's what we do as women. We support each other in that way. I thought, Christine, that was really great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm gonna play one more video right now, because I think it also sort of touches on this, that what you were just talking about. And I'm not even going to explain it. I'm just going to go for it and trust that you'll all understand why I'm doing it.
In the quiet moments, when the sun begins to rise, we find the strength within us. In the stories of our lives, not in gold or glory, but in hearts we've touched with grace, in the love we share with others, in each kind and gentle face. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the hands you've held and the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you sparked in others, in the stories that are told. Through the trials and the triumphs, in the battles that we fight, it's the courage and the kindness that will always shine so bright. In the lessons that we teach and the dreams that we inspire, in the way we lift each other higher and higher. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the hands you've held and the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you sparked in others, in the stories that are told. In the final song you sung, and the curtains drawing near, it's the moments filled with love that will echo year to year. In the footprints on the path that guide the lost and blind, your legacy will live on in the hearts you've left behind. Your legacy is the love you leave behind, in the hands you've held, in the souls you've helped to find. It's the laughter in the children, the wisdom in the old. It's the light you've sparked in others, in the stories that are told. So let's live with open hearts and give with all our might, for the legacy we leave is a beacon in the night, in the echoes of our actions, in the whispers of the wind. Our legacy of love is where it all begins. Our legacy of love is where it all begins.
Your legacy will live on in the hearts you've left behind.
Okay, anybody else about in tears?
Oh my gosh, what is that song from? I've never heard that. I feel like it's
neither. I was like feverishly taking notes.
Yeah, what is that song?
Well, that is a song that a dear friend of our part of our production staff, actually, Steampunk Poe, has put together. He is a wonderful, creative person, and he wrote that song, and he's the one who was in there, walking there, and yeah, it's just we love that song. We've been talking about legacy a lot.
Wow.
For several months now, and I just felt like when you were talking, Tara, and I don't even remember now exactly what you were saying, but it just felt like that was the right time to do it. But I'm going to ask you one other thing here, because we talk a lot about the importance of community. We're talking about just, keep going, as Deb said, but I wanted to find out from all of you, how do you distinguish between a failure that is worth persisting to keep going through versus one that's really saying, you know what, you need to maybe cut your losses and change direction? So who wants to comment on that? And if you don't,
I'll take it.
Good. Otherwise I was going to volunteer someone or tell someone.
I think the first thing you need to do is you need to look at whose failure is it? Is it failure because it's really failure, or is it failure because you're looking at what society says it is?
Interesting.
I think one of the biggest failures that I experienced was going through a divorce. And that divorce, I felt like a massive failure. And was it really failure, or is it a story coming to an end and it's time for everyone to move on and to move forward? What was that? And so first of all, get crystal clear on whose value are you calling it a failure? I felt it was a failure because of my upbringing and my commitment and all of those things. And as I can reframe that wasn't what that was. That was everybody else calling it a failure. I'm the one that has to walk in those shoes, and our children and those things. So looking at what are you hanging your definition of failure on, and where are you looking at that from? So getting really crystal clear on what is the outcome of what you want this failure to be. Do you want this to determine who you are the rest of your life? Is this what you're going to hang your hat on? Or are you going to move beyond this? And are you going to find the clarity that you need so that you know what your next goal is?
Yeah, I love that. Anybody else? Christine, maybe?
I love that, because, whatever failures that we may think things are, they don't define us. And we have a tendency to hold on to, for so many reasons that we feel it does. And that's what keeps us, I think, from moving forward when we should be. But one of the things that I love to process is going back to reflect on what our values are, because I think values are like our core. They lead us to all the decisions that we make. And so I think, when we're not sure of direction or thinking ourselves with failure, we really need to take a step back and re-examine our values and figure out, are we still aligned with our values? Or do we need to make some shifts? Because sometimes the things that we look at as failure is because we feel maybe we're not living up to our core values. And I think that's an important avenue to look at. And I think, a lot of times we have a tendency to blame ourselves, when in all honesty, we just need to take that step back and take a look at what it is that, we need to change, where we are. Take a look at where you are, and, how do you get to your next steps? And it's just, I think we need to be introspective. And I love the legacy part, because I'm all about legacy, and it goes so beyond, with my clientele. It seems to be more people think of legacy as finances, but they don't think of it as love. They don't think of it as kindness. They don't think of it as sharing. And, I've had this conversation recently with my granddaughter, trying to explain something to her. And she's like, well, Nana, why don't you just quit? And I said, because that's not who I am. Because I want people to remember me as honoring my values and being respectful. So, I think it's important too that we share those things with the younger generations, because they don't get enough of that.
Yeah. And I've been seeing a bunch of purple hearts go by, so I'm just gonna play a quick little video about that. Yeah, that's
Love that.
the folks who are in the Purple Hearts Club know what that's all about, and it's just but we just wanna say, yes, we see you and we honor you and we remember you. So, yeah, I love what you were saying, Christine. I think that's so good. Tara or Deb,
Yeah.
you wanna
So I just
chime
have a
in
quick
now?
thought, and this might be because I work with, women in business who are starting businesses and stuff. And so you might be fascinated by this statistic. They have done a study with women who start businesses and men who start businesses. And when a man starts a business and the business fails, he steps back and he goes, that was a really stupid business to start. Why did I start that business? That was a dumb business. And he goes on and he starts another business, finds a different business, one that's not a failing business, right? When a woman starts a business and the business fails, she steps back and goes, what made me think I could start a business? I'm such a failure. That was so dumb of me. Who was I to think I was an entrepreneur? And she is not likely to start another business. Very interesting, right? How we take things. And so when you ask that question, how do you know, is this like I'm going down a direction that I really kind of need to get off that track and get onto a different track? I instantly went to business. And because I see this, right? We start a business and we're trying to like hold on to this business so tight, and maybe it's time to let go of it. And I think it goes into, why did you do it? What was your starting? Was it because it was really after prayerful alignment that you feel like this is where God is leading you in your purpose and your core values and why you exist and your gifts and why you're here? Or did you start that because it sounded good and your family or your spouse or your community thought you should do it, right? And sometimes it's not so much that it's a failure. Sometimes we take a step in one direction and we think it's to keep going in this direction, but it was really that step to then be able to be in this direction and then a step to be in this direction. And so if we think about it more as just each thing we do is a choice, and then it opens up another choice, and then it opens up another choice, then there's really no good choice or bad choice. It's just, these are all choices and they lead us in different directions so we can make more choices.
I love that. I think that is so spot on, because it is interesting, because then, as we reach a certain age and we look back on our life and we've, probably gone through lots of different iterations of maybe even businesses or what we started, what we went to school for maybe isn't what we end up doing, but everything leads to where you are. And I'm not even explaining this right, but it's like, when I first started, I majored in business in college and then was flunking out in it. So I changed my major to TV production. And then I wound up working for a television station for a business program. So, and then I wound up years later starting my own business. So it's like everything, as you say, Tara, it's like, you just have to kind of just think of it as course correcting sometime, as opposed to, failure. Deb, what about you? What do you think about this?
It's interesting. I guess I'm a little maybe more practical with some of it. Everybody has been spot on with what they've been saying. It's about how are we defining it, all of ththose various things. During my journey, there were 3 different times that my husband was told, no, she is not going to make it. And I remember I overheard the doctors one time talking about that. And I remember thinking, hello, I get to vote. But, and so now I kind of think, really? Am I getting upset about something that doesn't really matter? Did somebody die? Did somebody, all these various things, and realizing maybe it's not that, worth getting that upset over. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't try and we shouldn't give it our all and all of those things. But I think sometimes it's that we put far too much emphasis and importance on things that really aren't that important.
Wow. I'm going to do this again. There's been so many of them today, but that one definitely deserved it. Well, oh goodness. So Oh, okay. We're starting to run out of time here. And so I want to have each of you go around now and definitely, maybe make one last point or that we haven't said yet, or one last, encouragement or something that people can do, if they are maybe in the throes of, a setback right now, and how to encourage them. So I don't know, Deb, if you want to start, or I can come
I'm
back
already
to you.
here in the highlight box.
All right.
I think it's that you matter, you are important, and you are in charge. No matter what it is, you are in charge.
I love that. All right. Who else wants to go?
I'll go. I think it's important to remind ourselves that we are so much more powerful than whatever hurt us, and that we can get through it. All endings have new beginnings.
Very good. Amanda.
I think that if you are feeling comfy and then you're really just not growing, you're kind of stuck in a rut. So that feeling of flutter of nerves is just your soul is stretching to meet you in that moment. And so don't be too comfortable. Change is not always comfortable, but it's always worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to leave you with one tip. If you're in you're in the pit, you're in the hole. And even if you're not, because this is a great skill for all to develop. But I did this when I was in the pit, the worst season of my life. And I knew that from all my, training, I knew what we think about gets bigger, right? We've heard the saying, what we think about gets bigger. And everything was falling apart around me. And I thought, okay, well, if I've got to change this, I got to think something different. And Deb, you might remember this. So I started a gratitude journal. And I mean a gratitude practice. Like I didn't go in and just go, I'm grateful for my health, my house, my job. I mean, it was like, can I find the most insignificant things to be grateful for? And I remember one day it was literally that a day was 24 hours, and thank God it wasn't 25 because I didn't think I could make another hour. I was grateful that it was only 24.
Right? We've
been there, right? But I will tell you, in the worst season of my life, I did that for 1 month, and I completely changed my life. And it was the first time in my life I felt absolute peace, even though nothing about my situation had changed. And so I truly believe if you want to change your life, that is the single thing you can do that will absolutely change your life.
I love that.
I couldn't agree more. And I tell you, and I actually worked with a coach once who even encouraged us to be grateful for the things that are, going seemingly wrong in your life, or the failures, to, again, as we talked about earlier today, about looking for the lessons in them instead. And but just be grateful for it, because I know it's hard. But if you can at least shifts your energy around it so that you can start managing it better anyway. So just say, okay, I don't know why this is happening today. Okay, I'm grateful. And I'd be grateful for solution to come around too, I think, as well, right? Oh, gosh. All right. You know what? I'm going to go around one more time. I just want you to leave our audience with one word, just one word. Christine.
Oh, powerful.
I like that. Amanda.
I'm going to go with gratitude.
Good word. Tara, how about you?
I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use two. You can.
I like that. Okay. And Deb, how about you?
Blessed.
Love that.
Very good. I love that. And I think for me, I'm going to say fabulous, because that's what our show is all about anyway, of helping you. And I hope, I so hope that you all received some fabulous nuggets of wisdom today to help you to build your resilience muscle so you can go out there and handle whatever life throws you, because life does have a wonderful habit of throwing us lemons. And so we have to make some lemonade out of it. So appreciate all of you, and make sure that you tune in next week, because we will have another fabulous show. And in fact, our fearless leader, the creator of the Let's Talk Fabulous show, will be hosting, Tamara Hunter. So make sure you tune in. And so I'm going to just say so long, and I'll see you again next time.
Thank you.
Oh.